We are greatly honoured to have His Excellency Dr. Nayef Falah AL-Hajraf with us this evening as our guest of honour. Dr. AL-Hajraf is Chairman of the Board and Co-founder of Capital Asset Management. He was the former Secretary General of the Gulf Cooperation Council and served as Kuwait's 19th Minister of Finance, as well as Chairman of the Kuwaiti Investment Authority.
Goodfellow Award Medal, the India General Service Medal issued to Sepoy Nizamuddin from the 4th Sikh Infantry for service rendered in Burma, 1885 to 1887, medal number 385. This is the India Service Medal, 1854, which stands as an emblem of unwavering spirit, echoing parallels with the journey of the Goodfellows Initiative. We now invite Goodfellows recipient, His Excellency Dr. Nayef Falah Al-Hajraf, to join us at the stage with Lakshmi Narayanan.
Happy evening, everyone. His Excellency doesn't need an introduction. Our chair has beautifully explained His Excellency life journey. I would like to ask His Excellency to talk about your career background, even though Chair mentioned about your GCC, former GCC role and former Finance Minister of Kuwait. Let me request you to start talking about yourself, all the ministry positions that you have held in the past.
Thank you, Lakshmi. I hope everyone is hearing me. And before I start answering the question that Lakshmi has, I'd like to raise 3 points. One, I'd like to thank everyone who made this happening. I know organizing a conference for one day requires a lot of effort and hard work, let alone 3 days conference. So I raise the hat for all those men and women who've been working behind the scenes to make this happening under your leadership. And thank you for the SWFI family and everyone who is here tonight. Number 2, I'm here in my personal capacity, so I have no official duties, no official affiliations. So whatever I'm saying here is presenting my personal view. And as Mr. Chairman have mentioned, this is Chatham House rules, but I have to make this kind of disclaimer as I'm speaking for myself. Number 3 and foremost, Lakshmi kept me toward the end of the evening. So I cannot promise that whatever I'm going to say will be as good as the food we just had, nor as interesting as the music we just seen. So I do apologize if you find whatever I'm saying is boring a little bit, but it's at the end of the day. So Lakshmi will have us all here, and thank you again for inviting us. Who I am? Well, that's a question that probably seems straightforward, but it's very, very hard to wrap it in short. I grew up in a family, part of my childhood was here in London. I educated out of Oxford British curriculum. I went back to Kuwait and then fly to the US and then came back to Yorkshire to do my PhD in accounting and finance. I graduated in 2002, went back to Kuwait, I started my career as accounting professor at Gulf University for Science and Technology. It's a newly established private universities, and at that time we were having about 2,000 students. I made it up over 8 years to be the academic affairs, vice president for academic affairs. Then My first official duties came in 2008 as a member of the Supreme Council of Petroleum and representing the Kuwait Investment Authorities as a board member at the Arab investment companies. I carried these duties for about 9 years. And 2010, I became among the first board of commissioners, full-time, 5 commissioners to sit on the ever-exist Capital Market Authority in Kuwait. 2012, I became Minister of Education and Minister of Education. 5 months later, I've been assigned finance portfolio, so I was carrying 1/3 of the government. Minister of Finance, Minister of Education, and Higher Education until 2014. I went back to be the chairman and managing director for Kuwait Capital Market Authority. Over 4 years, we managed to privatize the stock exchange for the first time within the region. So it is a privately owned stock exchange now, and it is listed within the stock exchange itself. Also, we have upgraded the market to be in FTSE, and that was a big achievement, and to have it as emerging market at the end of the day. 2017, I became the 19th Minister of Finance. It wasn't a good time for finance ministers to carry on such duties, but during this period, there was a lot of challenge, and especially when it comes, as Minister of Finance, I was the chairman of the Kuwait Investment Authority, as well as the chairman of the pension fund, Kuwait Association for Social Security. We run a major restructuring at the pension fund over 4 years. We have the assets allocated in a very strategic way. We raised capital under management from $100 billion to $150 billion. By 2020, I was appointed as the 6th Secretary General for the Gulf Cooperation Council. So I have to move from Kuwait to Saudi Arabia to Riyadh. That's where the Secretariat headquarters is. And during that time, I have a list of 10 things that I need to do under my new capacity as Secretary General. And 6 weeks later, I found myself putting that list in the drawer and have to deal with COVID-19. So it wasn't in my list, but we have to deal with it. And one very important issue that we need to keep business as usual. It was a time where the world has seen the effect of invisible virus that affected every one of us, yet we need to keep moving. And I think it was only through international cooperations and collective effort that we as human beings overcome that pandemic. Do we think it's the last pandemic? I don't think so. Do you think we will be hit with another pandemic? I think we are ongoing victims of pandemics from different sizes, different forms. And here I'm focusing on the economic agenda. Today's economy is suffering. We have interest rate is high, inflation rate is high. We have geopolitics issues affecting every one of us. And that's where I keep saying platform like this, gathering like this, bringing people from different parts of the world to address present issues and the most urgent issues is the only way that we develop a mutual understanding how these problems is affecting us and how we collectively can handle these problems. There is no isolations. I don't think anyone will be in a safe haven if this economy continues in this space. Then we'll be having issues. When we're at the school, the first economic course 101 told us that if the whole street sneezes, everyone catch a cold. I think today's, if anyone sneezes, everyone catch a cold. So that's in brief.
Thank you. An inspiring journey, Your Excellency. Thanks for sharing your journey with us. As a chairman or a former chairman for the world's oldest and the first sovereign wealth fund, when you were at that position, what were your tasks, or what was how you looked at the world at that time and how the world has changed now?
Well, I'll give a quick snapshot for where the idea came from. Kuwait Sovereign Wealth Fund was the first ever existing in history. It was established back in 1952. And the philosophy behind the fund was, how can we preserve some oil revenue for those who will be born when the revenue dried out, or when oil dried out, since it's an unsustainable source of energy. So that was the main focus. So the law itself was articulated in a way that the principles and the revenues will be reinvested again within the fund, which makes it very hard to pull any cash out of the fund. So the fund kept investing and reinvesting and reinvesting until 1990, when the Iraq invaded Kuwait and the war, 1990-1991. So the country needs to support the liberation war as well as restructuring the country. So the government went and borrowed on the market rate from the sovereign wealth fund. And gladly that the government paid back the principals and the interest back to the fund. By the law, it was assigned 10% of the total revenue on an annual basis to be deducted directly to the fund. And during my time, I was hoping that the more cash I inject into the fund, the more leverage they can have to expand their operation. And by the way, 1/3 of the operation is run out of the city. Kuwait Investment Office, based in London, is the investment arm for the government for quite a long time. And 1/3 of our portfolio was invested, during my time at least, was invested out of the city. So I felt that injection more cash will give the fund more muscles and expanding their horizon. Now they are operating in 120 countries, different assets class, different sectors. And during my time for 3 years, I increased the 10% to 25%. If you'll remember the 2012, 2013, 2014, the oil price was quite historically high. So I decided this is the moment where we have to increase the 10% by taking more cash and inject it to the fund. We're happy that we did that. And the fund has adopted a world-class governance framework in place to make sure that the fund will be preserved. This is my biggest concerns as Minister of Finance, as Chairman of the Kuwait Investment Authority, to have the fund in a good shape. And I can't disclose how much cash we're having, but I think that cash was enough to grab a very interesting opportunities that came during the COVID-19. Because I strongly believe that within the challenge, there always comes an opportunity. And that's what gives the KIA the good positions to go back into the market, to buy when others were selling, and to enhance their positions in some very big selected assets when others were desperately trying to get rid of these assets. So that was the concerns. And I think now we were listening to one of the presentations this afternoon. You might not see the KIA among the top sovereign wealth fund, but we are happy to have them among the top 5. Very low profile policy. We don't like to make headlines, or at least that's during my time. And we think it's professional will base at the end of the day.
I want to go a little personal side. At what point of your age you picked up interest for finance, numbers, accounting?
Numbers. I don't think it's numbers. It's more of a logic. And I can remember, we grew in a family where my father was in politics. So he used to have his own majlis. Majlis is a place where he received his guests on a daily basis. And it could be 10 people, it could be 50, it could be 100. And sometimes they host them for dinner or for lunch. And I was listening to the argument. We, as a child, we are required to be at the majlis almost every day, but mandatory 3 times a week. So we learn things that we can't learn in classrooms. By sitting in the majlis, looking at my father, how he treats others. This is unwritten protocol, but it is part of the society values. So I remember during that time, people will keep arguing. And for each argument, there is a counter argument. And you can't reach a point where there is someone who is wrong or right. Every argument might be wrong, it might be right, but everyone is happy with their own argument. They only stop arguing when you state facts. So today is Wednesday, that's a fact. Now it's 10 o'clock p.m., that's a fact. No one can argue on that. So that's what drives me to believe in numbers. Because as long as we cannot quantify our argument into numbers, it will be very difficult to persuade others or to prove that your argument is accurate. I don't want to say right, unless you put it in numbers. So if you looked into financial statements, there is always balance sheet, and it should be balanced, otherwise there is something wrong. Assets equals liability plus equity. You can read the same statements in Kuwait, you can read it here in the UK, you can read it in the US, you can read it in India, anywhere, it is balanced. And I think this goes at large scale in everything in life. Everything should be balanced. We have to balance our duties and family responsibilities. We have to balance our argument. We have to balance our emotional sometimes. We have to balance our judgment. So that's where I think numbers will never keep two people arguing. I know someone in the morning session yesterday said that 1 + 1 doesn't necessarily equals 2 anymore. That's if you're looking at it from economic point of view and you add the opportunity costs on top of that. But from accounting point of view, it must be 2. 1 + 1 equals 2. So everything, once being quantified, that means that we have reached a point where we don't argue. I was going to politics as a major when I was going to universities. But then I said, well, for any argument, whether it's good, regardless how good it is, there is always a counter argument. So I decided, no, I'll go for accounting. And I'm glad I did, that I went for accounting and finance, because I don't like argument. I present the facts, and the facts can be presented clearly in numbers, and with numbers, everyone will have the full picture.
On our interaction, you said daily morning you go to office 6 o'clock and you do it consistently whole life till now. What is driving you that way? What makes you to be, what is keeping you awake, or what is the force behind it, or what's an inspiration behind that?
Well, personally, I'm a morning person. I like to wake up in the morning. I remember taking 8 o'clock classes when I was at universities, probably not the popular class at my age at that time, and still I think. But I believe that we only have 24 hours a day. So if we can't catch the day from the very morning, when the sun rises, then they are missing something. Whether it's 1 hour, whether it's half an hour, whether it's 2 hours, or even more. So my belief that being at the office, or being at work, whatever it is, by 6 o'clock, you are giving yourself a time to read early in the morning, your mind is fresh, and you need to keep yourself updated, and you need to plan your day, and you need to make the most of it once you're done, because you do have family responsibilities, you do have children, and you need to want to spend time. I made a promise for myself, my wife, and my children that I will never bring work to home. When I walked home, it means this is time for them. But they are fine for me leaving home early morning at 6 o'clock. And this is back to the balance, trying to find the right balance between your duties and your family responsibilities. And I found it very, very fruitful. I remember struggling to have 7:30 meetings with my undersecretary and my staff at the very beginning, but I think then they adapt to this new environment. I don't know whether this is still on, but not. But I'm an early morning person. I was talking with one of the gentlemen that I met here during the conference, and we agreed that to have morning coffee in the morning tomorrow. And then he tried to tease me by suggesting to have 8 miles run at 5 a.m. And I said, I'm in. And then he said, no, I'll do it myself. So,
I always wonder, people, when they use the word called work-life balance, they put the work before the life. I always tell people it has to be life-work balance, not in work-life balance.
well, it depends on what is your objectives. I think whatever we are doing will reach an end, except if something we are doing it for ourselves, to enhance our knowledge, to update our information, or to make sure that we spend enough time with our children and our family. These are the 3 most valuable things. Unfortunately, no one realized these until it's too late. But I tell everyone, it will never be too late. We can always find the right balance. It's all about time management. We can either let the work manage our day, or we could make our strategy manages our day. So there is a time for work, there is a time to sleep, there is time to interact, and definitely there is a time for family.
Let's talk about the Gulf region. The Gulf has been a rapid development over the recent years. Can you share how this dynamic growth has influenced businesses, your business strategies, your entrepreneurial vision, and where do you feel there's an opportunity in the Gulf?
But over the last 4 years, I've met with so many business people. Before, it was the questions, where is the right investment opportunities abroad? Abroad, I mean beyond the GCC. And with the traditional market, capital market cities, London is one of them. In today's environment, I found it very hard to convince GCC investors to invest abroad. Why is that? I think 3 main reasons. One, over the last 5 years or so, we have seen dynamics within the GCC countries that never been seen before. We have seen ambitious national plans in place. We have seen strategic positions within the geopolitics arena. And we have seen a very responsible energy policy that's stabilizing the energy market to make it fair for producers as well as consumers, plus uplifting the whole jurisdiction system. So those who used to seek opportunities abroad find it now available at home. So instead of investing abroad, they redirect their investments domestically. Not only that, but they are bringing investors to the region as well. And that means a lot. There must be trust. As a business community, you want to make sure that whatever you are investing, your investment has been protected, and that you are trusting the jurisdiction systems. And I think that's already been in place. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see the FDIs flowing into the region like no other before. Number 2, there must be opportunities. All these mega projects, giga projects that going into the region, all these infrastructure projects, it's a world-class IT environments. It's uplifting the whole scene. It requires a lot of capital. And I think they have seen the opportunities, that there is enough for everyone, and that's what drives people to go into the GCC. Third and foremost, I think we have managed to be a trusted player when it comes to the geopolitics issues. We had the Russian-Ukraine war. We had the situation in Gaza, which is very bad to see those innocent people died from both sides. And we are in 2024. More than 35,000 people were killed. Innocent people were killed. We have seen the aggression in the Red Sea. We have seen the aggression in Yemen. We have seen the destabilizing acts of some of the militias within the region, yet we fulfill our commitments to stabilize the world energy and the world at large. We played a crucial role between the West and East. We mediate whenever it's needed. We offer help whenever it's needed. And I think that lends credibility to the system, to the leadership that's taking place who are young within the GCC now. And that's probably the comfort that investors and business community needs to go into the region. And I'm sure some of gentlemen and ladies here tonight have participated or attended one of the conferences within the region. It is something that you can't dream of 5 years ago. The region hosted Expo 2020 in Dubai. The region hosted the World Cup 2022 in Qatar. Saudi Arabia chaired G20 during the pandemic. I think Saudi Arabia now is hosting the Expo 2030 as well, and probably the World Cup 2020, 34. So it is an international platform that's engaging with all the parties and making us align in interest. And that's what the business community needs to see in order to have the comfort to move on to the region.
So the people in the GCC, both religiously as well as the family values, they strongly believe in giving.
And?
Giving. So, I had an opportunity to work with, interact with, have a relationship with at least 500 families, whether it is a Ramadan days or whether it is in any other occasions. They generously give, help people without any expectations, just come out and do it. I want to understand your words, the power of philanthropy, the power of giving.
I don't think we can limit giving to a region. It is part of us as a human being. We are here in charity evening. Chairman of Trustees was just mentioning what they are doing. We were listening this morning to the gentlemen from the United States who were mentioning the Rockefeller Foundations and how they try to give and help. We are listening to other speakers during today and yesterday and what they are helping. The gentleman from India, the Oberoi, how many girls, young girls you have been helping. And this is a human being values. And I think this is where we need to enhance the giving. There is beauty in giving without expecting a return, or at least immediate return. And believing in giving is our moral responsibilities as a human being. We had a nice setting, we just ate a nice food, nice company. Let's think of the more unfortunate young children who probably don't have things to eat for tonight. And that's where giving has no limitation. It cannot be identified for a particular region. It cannot be identified for a particular religion. It is a human being, and this is how I see it, and this is how I would like to see it. So whether you are giving in India, or whether you are giving in Kuwait, or whether you are giving in the United States, it is giving. Means that you are taking something that belongs to you, that you might need it one day, but voluntarily you are giving it to someone who in need now. And that's the very, very powerful message. I think we need to keep in that.
You have been a minister of education, higher education, finance. You have seen the Western world. You have seen the Eastern part of the world. And you have been a former Secretary General of GCC. And we are sitting in the front of family offices and sovereign wealth funds gathering. Do you have any strategies for the whole world to build a financial prosperity?
Strategy for the whole world? I don't think so. But how I see things, that's different. Well, there are three main questions I always keep asking myself. One, how do you see life? Two, how would you like to be remembered? Three, where do you want to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and so on. There is no right or wrong answers for this. It's more of philosophical brainstorming. But how do you see life? This is very important because life is an echo. You always get back what you've been given. If you decided to wear black glasses, you will see things black, simple. But if you decide to take it off, you will see the green, you will see the sun, you will see the moonlight, and you'll see the colorful life. So that's a large. People tend to see the dark side of life. Every one of us has their own dark side. Life, there is ups and downs. But please do not forget the bright one. And I think this makes a huge difference. If we are positive in a way of thinking, if we are positive in a way of acting, if we have this positive attitude, then we will be in a better position to try to find our way as we navigate through the ups and downs. But if we decided to live in the past, definitely we will never move to the future. So this is how do you see life. How would you like to remember? And I think this is very important because it reflects personality and identity. There are some people who would like to go with half solutions. And I think there are some people who are so determined to go to the right solution. So in management, we've been told that half solutions will never solve the problem. It's either you will tackle the problem from the roots and try to engage people to make sure that solving the problems, it requires everyone effort, and more and foremost, seeing yourself part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I think that, again, makes a difference. How do we see ourselves in 5 years' time, 10 years' time? This is, again, it's a personal philosophy. And I think if we keep repeating this for ourselves, we will be navigating our way discreetly, but I think collectively we will be able to reach. Where is the world economy now? And I think we need to have more engagement. Platform like this, gathering like this is very much needed. Listening to people from different parts of the world with their different concerns, different issues, makes us appreciate what we have. At the same time, make us that we will be affected in one way or another unless we jump and be part of the solution. And I would encourage that engaging is essential. There is no isolation. And I think everything is connected now. And knowing what's going on in the North Pole will mean that we are aware of the climate change that one day will affect us and affect our daily life. Knowing what's going on, and one of the ladies who are presented with the Goodfellow Award today was into the nature.
Yes, preserving the.
And that means a lot because this is where we belong. And connecting the dot, make sure that we connect all the effort so no effort has been wasted, and collectively we will make the difference.
Thank you, Excellency. My last question to you. What's your favorite Arabic quote? Can you tell the quote? Can you explain the meaning and why you like that one?
The best Arabic quote is, there is plenty. I want to make sure that I pick the right one. الوقت كالسيف إن لم تقطعه قطعك. Meaning that time is as sharp as the sword. If you are not handling it carefully, it will cut your hand. So again, this is back to managing the time. And I think there is a book with a lot of Arabic quote translated in English. I'll be very happy to send you a copy of it.
Thank you so much.
I can't send everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for His Excellency Nayef Falah AL-Hajraf. Thanks for being with us today evening and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you
so much, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arabic way.
Arabic way.
Thank you.
Thank you.